as she prepares to file charges in the investigation into the former President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and his associates. The Georgia prosecutor in charge of the case has taken the unusual step of announcing remote work days for the majority of her staff during the first 3 weeks of August. The action suggests that Fani T. Willis, the district attorney for Fulton County, anticipates that a grand jury will unseal indictments during that time. In a letter sent on Thursday to 21 Fulton County officials, including the chief county judge, Ural Glanville, and the sheriff, Pat Labat, Ms. Willis described the remote work plan and made the request to judges. Ms. Willis, who has already requested the F.B.I. to assist with security in and around the courthouse, wrote, "Thank you for your consideration and assistance in keeping the Fulton County Judicial Complex safe during this time." In a prior letter, Ms. Willis had stated that any charges arising from the Trump investigation would be brought during the grand jury term, which runs from July 11 to September 1. She seems to have provided more information about timing in her letter on Thursday. However, she has already pushed back her timeline as she worked to negotiate cooperation agreements with some potential defendants. With a motion filed in March, Mr. Trump's legal team is attempting to end the case and throw much of the gathered evidence out of court. The investigation by Ms. Willis's office into possible illegal meddling in the Georgia 2020 election, which Mr. Trump narrowly lost to Vice President Biden, has been going on for more than 2 years. A special grand jury that heard testimony in the case for roughly 7 months recommended indicting more than a dozen people, and its forewoman made a strong suggestion that Mr. Trump was one of them in an interview with the New York Times in February. Any charges Ms. Willis wishes to file must now be approved by a regular grand jury. County officials are worried about security due to the impending indictments in such a high-profile investigation, so Ms. Willis announced that she would reduce staffing in her office by roughly 70%. There would be some exceptions to the remote work schedule, according to her, including my leadership team and all armed investigators. The majority of judges, Ms. Willis noted in the letter, would be in attendance at a judicial conference the week of July 31. I respectfully request the trials and in-person hearings not be scheduled between the weeks beginning on Monday, August 7th and Monday, August 14th. Ms. Willis requested an evaluation of the county courthouse's risk in a letter to the F.B.I. Atlanta field office last year, and she also requested that the organization provide protective resources to include intelligence and federal agents. She mentioned in the letter from the previous year that Mr. Trump had called the investigators vicious, horrible people at a rally in Texas in January 2022 and called for protests in the cities where he was under investigation. His most recent criminal indictment in New York City on allegations involving hush money payments to a porn star was largely uneventful. In the weeks following the 2020 election, armed pro-Trump protesters frequently appeared near the Georgia state capitol, as Mr. Trump and his allies falsely claimed that there had been electoral fraud. Armed counter-protesters were also present in the streets on at least one occasion. Ms. Willis, who had some employees wear bulletproof vests, is obviously worried about the possibility of unrest following any indictments in the Trump investigation. She discussed the need for heightened security and preparedness in coming months due to this pending announcement in a letter she sent to the local sheriff last month.